Hello, so nice of you to join me. I'm going to present some of my work today from the thesis capstone from the FIT Exhibition Experience Design program. And I wanted to thank all of those who could make it to my presentation. And those of you who are now watching, I'm super excited to share with you my work, my thinking around the theme which I chose. So I'm going to open my presentation now and take you through my process. Okay, so my project is called Leggende della Pietra, which means Legends of Stone in Italian. It's a project it's going to be proposed to take place in Italy. And my name is Robert Reuland. So excited to share with you. So my project starts with the site because it's an interpretation of the ruin itself. The ruin is called Santa Maria del Piano, which means Santa Maria of the Plain. As you can see, it's in this beautiful plain. Once didn't have these trees, it had this. And everywhere you'd walk, you'd see the mountains in the background. And visiting the site, which I had the pleasure to do, I really was in awe of the place, both the nature and also the man-made elements that were still extant in this beautiful ruin. Just talk a little more about the site. It's the Benedictine Abbey, the place where monks would pray and live. And it's in the township of Posaia Sabina, but there's a number of beautiful little towns in the area, including Orvino and Torania. And I was able to learn so much about this area, which is called Rieti, which is outside of Rome, and all the sort of communities around here had traditions that were super interesting, and I had the pleasure to talk to a lot of different people about the place. So you can see I am visiting the site, and in the shadow there is a man called Angelo taking my photo, who was such a kind person who helped me get to the site when I had some trouble initially, and was a wonderful resource going through the process of just thinking back to him and his sort of his kindness towards me and the wonderful experience that I had talking to him about his stories and his association with this wonderful place. And in the entrance, as you can see, there's actually pieces of Roman temple were used to make this entrance, which is a technique called spolia, which is the process of taking Roman ruins and repurposing them. So there is such a richness to the place, which walking around you can discover these wonderful architectural details. It's a Romanesque church, Romanesque architecture, and talking to an archaeologist focused on this region, he told me a lot. A lot is actually unknown about this site and the history that surrounds it and what was there before. But obviously there was some sort of Roman temple. We don't exactly know the official date it was made, but we have a sense that it was around 800 AD, and people stipulate that it was founded by Charlemagne after winning a battle in the region. There is one of the biggest trends in this experience is the fact that we do not know so much about this site, even though there is writing about it and there's some history recorded. There is a lot that is unknown, and this speaks to ruins in general and the mysteries that they hold and the things that they experience, but we will never know, including one of the adventures I had gone to the nearby abbey called the Abbey of Farfa, which is another township. And after looking for the one book they had about this particular abbey of Santa Maria del Piano, they informed me that they couldn't find it anywhere. And I was relying on accounts of the historians orally to hear more about the site and hear more about the history of it. But I was captivated by the richness that I gained by hearing their knowledge and their conoscenza and wanted to impart that in visitors. But before even visiting, I want to talk about my thinking about the site and about sites in general and how to use them as ideal catalysts of wonderful experiences that are authentic. Um, Here are some wonderful experiences and exhibits that are taking place in ruins. It's here Alcova, which is a activation that happens in Italy for Design Week, and here's an opera at the Baths of Caracalla. And my connection to Italy is one that has kind of informed my design approach. And I've always really been fascinated with this country, which is where some of my ancestors are from. And as an American, I was just always so amazed by these magical places full of history. And I wanted to use this as a framework for thinking about experiences that are cited in these places and that take into account their stories and really bring them to the forefront. My big idea for the experience is one of using ruins as sites of connectivity and of thinking around local culture as well as the connection with nature. Ruins really act as bridges for these different concepts as they are a place between time and between decay and completion. So they naturally are sites that pose questions and bring us together in our curiosity. Um, so this experience is going to be proposed at different lesser known and lesser appreciated ruins throughout of Italy, starting at the Abbazia of Santa Maria del Piano, the Abbey of Santa Maria del Piano in the region of Rieti near Rome, an hour drive from Rome. And they will act as places that will bring tourists and new people to experience these spaces in a new way and have a series of campaigns that will highlight these places and bring people in for meaningful contact with history and thinking about themselves in the context of this long story. So these modular structures which I propose will be starting one year in one ruin, and the next year will be installed in a different ruin with a different spatial orientation, but their modular quality will allow them to be reused and repurposed for sustainability. The natural client for this project was the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry della Cultura, as they are actively engaged with promoting and preserving this culture, this Italian culture that's so apparent in these ruins and these other historic spaces. They work with museums and ruins, as well as some more modern artistic mediums such as film. And the other partners are going to be Alice Oscura, a travel community which focuses on trips and experiences that are off the beaten path, hidden wonders, and they will represent the foreign international community who are excited to experience these new spaces in a meaningful way, as well as I also included the the township, the comune, the local area's government as a key stakeholder in this process. So thinking about these two audiences, we have the young identity seeking individual millennial as research has shown millennials tend to put a lot of their income and their emphasis on traveling as they see it as experiences that are forming the sense of self and giving them more than just material objects can. So they have a real emphasis on travel and having experiences that are specifically authentic. And a trend has shown that local experiences and experiences that are more authentic are super important to this audience group. And the secondary audience is the local people who are mainly made up of retirees who have spent most of their life in this area. And they're people who are very engaged with history in their own heritage. They know a lot and they are also very excited to share. So I think one of the biggest motivation of this project is to connect these people the way I was able to connect with some of the local people in the town. Give people the experience to connect over history in this way could be an amazing opportunity for these two audience members. And they will also play, the local people will also play a very important role in the execution of the exhibit, which I will touch on as one of my last slides. Just going into the design, I wanted something that was going to be light, and a lot of my previous iterations were kind of heavy and were not exactly doing what I wanted. So almost recently, kind of near the end, I decided upon changing to this direction, which was inspired by the through line of history and specifically this red thread, this fil rouge, which is a motif commonly used to refer to different things being kind of merged together. And it was one of the main graphic tools which I use throughout the experience. But here I turn them into black and white, but there will also be a version in red. And also have this axial symmetry, which speaks to the sort of site, this sort of Christian axial symmetry, but it's sort of it's not entirely symmetrical. So it suggests this ruinous quality as well. And I chose this font, which is going to be the one used for all the text throughout the experience, called ABC Arizona. It's from a type house called Dynamo, based in Germany. And it has this kind of hand carved stone carving quality, as well as just being a more modern serif. So it kind of bridges the gap of modern and historical. Then we have this one red, which is Etruscan red. Etruscan civilization is known to have been in this Sabine area of Italy, but it acts as this real attention grabbing color, which takes you through, but just keeping it very simple as far as color palette. We have this red that sort of catches your attention, but we kind of leave it graphically simple. And I also brought in the natural color of the wood, which we'll be using, which is going to be a light wood. Will be treated for outdoor experiences, but it's also something that is specifically local to the region, being that the area is full of trees and there is a history of lumber production. So going to the graphic language again, we have these posters where you can see this red through line of the identity and this graphic element of the sort of merging of the sentience of carved stone sculptures, the eye and the ear, as well as the hidden elements of the church, both the writing of the monks and the some of the graphic details that would have been incorporated into the floor. Here's a mosaic that was was customary of the time, and we can assume was in the space. So we have a slight prompt on what the experience is, but these symbols are just kind of fairly elegant and light. And here's how they would kind of be incorporated into the landscape in a campaign, both featuring sites like airports and train stations, sites of transit where people would be passing through, as well as billboards and road signs for people driving by, capturing these two audiences. Here's the site one more time. You can see it's kind of wonderfully overgrown with these trees and plants, and I wanted to sort of incorporate that into the experience as well, as you can see in the following slides. But I'd like to touch on the fact that we have all these really unique spaces, which historic spaces tend to sort of have, which call for a different type of experience design. And a big part of my process is going to be maintaining the natural beauty of this space, which is experience in itself. And was one of the biggest challenges through this process is just how to let that shine through no matter what. So you will see that most of what I propose is very minimalist. Here's a plan. You can see some of these structures being inserted in here. And here's an isometric that shows these modules and how they would kind of be placed into the space. On the right, we see some of the the questions that are naturally posed when walking through a ruin are the prompts, the calls to action. And starting with questions such as the sound of the space, which is going to be a prompt to hearing different time periods through the auditory means, and look into what this space looked like, and the decorations that would have been there historically but no longer are. And these are kind of the layering of experts. As we can see, they're going to be the the guesses of experts that are going to be filling the space and filling in the gaps of what we don't know. And then we have other questions that are a little bit more poetic, such as the weight of the past and what secret stones keep. But we have a number of different questions that will be curating your experience. The exhibit will open at 9 a.m. in the morning, and it's an area full of agriculture and has a number of different lighting scenarios. There's a lot of things that will affect your experience as an outdoor experience. So the time of day in which you arrive is going to be changing how you experience the place greatly, including this arrival, what you see when you first come there. Um, So here's a kind of the small road that leads to the site, and it was where Angelo, as you can also see here, was able to take me along with his quattro per quattro, which is an off-road vehicle, and because of the difficulty to navigate, I think what would be feasible is to have a number of tour guides that would take you to the site in their off-road vehicles, as well as if your car was able to make it a parking scenario. But there will also be a series of wayfinding along the road to help you arrive at the site. Then when you arrive, you will see this red pop coming from inside the space. And this was a real design challenge because I was certain that I didn't want anything to be marking up the side of this building, which is so beautiful. I wanted the facade to be clean, and the solution which I was able to settle upon is this one, which I think maintains the integrity of the facade and also has this branded element which draws you into the space and is a clear sense of arrival. The first experience you will see in the introductory area is this projection of the light of the rose window, which was actually stolen in the last 30 years. So it was a recent theft, along with some other architectural details. And this introductory experience kind of shows the passing of light and is a provocation on the missing elements of this church. But you will also see on the side that these panels, which will serve as the introduction, and will introduce this red line, this graphic fil rouge, as well as the way type is going to be implemented, and the sizing of which is going to be such that it is inviting intimacy. It draws you in and gets you close to the wall where the panel is. And because it's a resin, black resin, it'll be legible, but it'll also sort of have this transparency for you to see the beautiful wall behind it. This red line will take you into the next exhibit area, which is going to be this courtyard, which is covered in sections, but will allow light in, and will we'll have a number of these sound benches, which are going to have the sounds of histories, each organized into different areas based on historical historical research. We're going to basically have a soundscape that will represent the different times of history. In this case, you can see depicted here the prehistory, the Roman history. What are some of the sounds that we could have heard at the time? It'll include languages and other activities. There'll be different hints that will give you a rich story, as well as a prompt for you to talk to your chaperone, who is going to be the person at the site who is going to be informed on the histories and all the content to give you additional resources. But as you can see here, here's the graphic area introduction, which will be this red pop, a red resin panel, and that will have the question about Italian and English. And then this red line will take you through the different experiences. But the speakers inside of the boxes will be on low, that you can hear this meditative soundscape while you sit down and you look at the beautiful space, which is going to be complete with the nature that was previously there. Here's the module which will be inserted into the ruin, and it's fairly minimalistic, but it's constructed of wood and will be disassembled afterwards to be installed in the next ruin in the next year after the experience is over. Here is the next one, which will look at some of the decorative elements that were previously in the church that are no longer. And here is a fresco that's going to be projected on the wall and printed on this chiffon or another transparent material. This one in this case is a mosaic fresco from a church in Rome called Santa Cecilia, which was built at a similar time to the one which we have here, Santa Maria del Piano. And we will work with curators to find the most relevant graphic material to depict here in this section. The next one is kind of a more poetic question, which is how much does the past weigh, which is a question that kind of speaks to the notion that Italians have a relationship with history that is one of sort of pressure, since there's such greatness in the previous civilizations of Rome, and and other wonderful artists that have passed through, that there is this sense of pressure from the past, and this requisite to be great, and it is something that I think we can contemplate when walking through a ruin, but it also takes into account this prehistory, this idea that there's these Roman ruins in this medieval ruin, and what that says about the nature of history. But I'd like to point out that this kind of installation would be something that we would partner with an artist, an Italian artist, to answer these questions or to provoke these questions further with an artistic installation. And that one I propose is more something that I feel was interesting, but I think that would be even more meaningful if we actually have another artist work on this installation. Then we have the Secrets of Stones. I have a great relationship with stones, and whenever I go to different sites, I like to collect stones, and I think many people do. And these ordinary objects, these stones, have stories that we associate with them. We connect over these objects. And I thought this would be a wonderful prompt to tell some of these myths and other local stories through these stones, whether from the site or from the local area that would have these myths and other stories associated with them. There'd be a written account of the history of the stone that it tells, as well as a series of projections that would go on top of the stones at nighttime when things were darker. And this is a modular unit that can be disassembled. It's each module is 40 centimeters, and they could be repurposed very nicely into another ruin after this experience is over. Then at 10 a.m. Is when some of the nighttime activity is programmed. We have a sort of another accompanying tent structure, which is made of also lumber, but is covered with this nacelle canvas, which will keep it airtight, and it will have a 5,000 lumen projector to project on the wall of the ruin a series of films that will be also opportunities for the community to come back and engage with material and an additional layering of stories, whether it's films that talk about medieval history or other history. It will be a content that is responding to the ruin's own story, and um, will be working with other local resources such as the Cittadella in Bologna, which is a resource that is restoring films, and we're going to bring in these experts to tell films and stories that relate to the space and Italian history. And then we'll have a number of sort of poets engage with the walls of this tent with projected content such as concrete poetry and using words and language to talk about what ruins mean to them and what they sort of provoke in us. And it will be accumulated with a series of outreach, bringing international and Italian poets together to bring these ideas to life. And finally, the last experience is going to be the opportunity to participate in this giant collage of all the people that have passed through, projected on the walls. You submit your image, and you can also be part of the many people that have passed through this space. And you are part of this history. So touching lastly on the sustainable aspect, as this is going to be a modular and disassemblable unit, we can take this experience from one site to the next. So it will act as a continuously used structure, as well as this afterlife in the sense of connecting people, continuing to connect them. As this poetry is projected, it can be cycled out fairly frequently and can give many people a chance to have their own work on display, but also to have more content that can be used for social media and for newsletters. Then in the local bar, which is kind of where people come together and have a coffee. In Italy, bars are kind of cafes and also for alcohol, but they serve as this community function. They'll have a bunch of souvenirs which you can buy from the experience, including this rock necklace and postcards as ways to take something with you from this experience. Thinking more about this community element, like I said, I want these film screenings to be chances for people to come together from the area and have content that is new and refreshed. so that there's an opportunity to go back for more each time if you're living in the area and you're not just visiting. And probably one of the most important things is how we're going to engage with the people of the town and make them the tellers of the story, the stewards, either volunteering or sort of with paid stipends for them to help with this and to be the people who are really responsible for the site and for making sure that people have the best information. Because a lot of these prompts are more poetic. I wanted them to be opportunities for people to ask questions and to participate and to engage with one another. But these chaperones and stewards are going to be the main um, the main resources for answering these questions. They'll be given information to share about the specific content, but also be encouraged to tell their own stories and contribute to this in whatever way they see fit. These people are retired primarily in this area, and they have little opportunities to engage with people from outside their community, and they're very excited to share. They're very historically knowledgeable, and they're just going to be a wonderful resource. And they get these lanyards with the the logo in their name, as well as this beautiful Carhartt jacket with the branding. Thank you so much for sitting with us and hearing this experience. There's so much good work to sort of see from my colleagues, and I'm so glad you had the chance to see mine and sit with me for this presentation. To touch lastly on the fact that there was so many lessons learned for me, including just the sort of notion of authenticity and what it means to be treating a site the way it should. And from the beginning, I just knew that this site was just a beautiful experience in itself. And part of me wanted to just make it this thing which you could see from all these different angles. So I built this initial direction, which I really liked, but I just ultimately think it almost detracted from the church and the intimacy which I wanted to provoke. So I decided later in the process to kind of switch gears. And the lesson I really learned was that you can't be afraid to pursue a new direction, even if it's a lot has been invested in another thing which you like a lot. So that was a wonderful lesson for me. And what I proposed, I think, was a little more authentic and a little more aligns with what I was thinking. So I'm very happy with that lesson that I learned, and the process was such an adventure. So I'm so honored to be part of this program and to have this opportunity to think about some things which I really liked and to share them with you. So thank you so much, and you'll have my contact information in case you have any questions. I would love to answer. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye bye.